We all love and adore Nezuko, but have you guys ever wondered what would have happened if instead of Nezuko, her younger brother Takeo had turned into a demon? How would that impact the storyline, and would there be any major changes? Well, there are a lot of questions, but you don't have to think about that because we've got you covered. We've gathered some interesting theories from all around the internet and compiled this one video. Make sure to watch till the end so you don't miss out on anything. First things first, we should consider the possibility that Takeo would turn out to be a similar demon to Nezuko. Like the original storyline, Tanjiro ventures into the town to sell coal, and just as he returns, he comes across his family being slaughtered, and Nezuko turned into a demon. However, in this storyline, Takeo is the one who's turned into a demon by Muzan. Tanjiro will grab him and rush toward the town for help. On the way, they come across Giyu, who understands the situation and sends Tanjiro to Urokudaki to become a demon slayer. Considering that Takeo is the exact same demon as Nezuko, the events of the storyline would turn out quite similar to the original one. Tanjiro will train to become a demon slayer, and both of them will venture into the outside world to search for a cure. A major difference Takeo's presence would make here is the fact that Zenitsu might not accompany Tanjiro on his journey, because his sole motivation was Nezuko. Takeo is adorable, but I'm pretty sure Zenitsu wouldn't want to marry him. There's also a massive possibility that Zenitsu would get killed along the storyline, because Tanjiro was the one who saved him. If we're considering that Takeo's personality is quite similar to Nezuko as well, then there won't be any changes in the entire storyline, except Zenitsu not accompanying them. Being a guy, Takeo might prove more helpful to the Demon Slayer Corps and Tanjiro in exterminating demons and finding a cure for himself. Anyway, the story will most likely end with Tanjiro and the others killing Muzan, just like the original timeline, and there won't be any major changes. In the previous scenario, we considered the possibility that Takeo is quite similar to Nezuko, just because they're siblings. However, in this scenario, things are slightly different. Once again, the story would proceed quite similarly to the original timeline, as Tanjiro ventures to the town to sell some coal, and just as he returns, he comes across dead bodies of his entire family, and Takeo turned into a demon. On their way to the nearest town, Tanjiro and Takeo come across Giyu. Now, this is where things get interesting. You see that the only reason Giyu spared Nezuko was because of her relationship with Tanjiro and their unique bond. Even though Tanjiro and Takeo are siblings, we cannot guarantee that Takeo's personality and bond would be similar to that of Nezuko. There's a massive possibility that Takeo turns out to be your typical demon, and Giyu would have no choice but to slaughter him right in front of his brother's eyes. This event will completely shatter Tanjiro, as he ambushes Giyu with all his might. Even though he stands no chance against the Water Hashira, Giyu realizes Tanjiro's potential and sends him to Urokudaki for training. At this point, Tanjiro is still devastated by the loss of his brother and has lost all hope. Urokudaki wants Tanjiro to believe that demons are the ones behind all this, and that they should be exterminated. However, seeing his brother's death right in front of his eyes has devastated Tanjiro to the point that he literally hates demon slayers and wants to get revenge. In the beginning, he resists Urokodaki's training, but soon realizes that he's just a pathetic loser who cannot take his revenge. Considering all this, he decides to accept Urokodaki's training with the ulterior motive to ultimately take revenge on Giyu. He deceives Urokodaki into believing that Tanjiro has changed and actually wants to support the Demon Slayer Corps. He teaches him water breathing, and with revenge being his ultimate motive, Tanjiro dedicates himself to training and eventually clears the Demon Slayer Corps exams. Soon after becoming a Demon Slayer, Tanjiro realizes that it won't be easy for him to take revenge on Giyu, and he will definitely need someone's help. During that time, Tanjiro ventures into Asakusa, where he recognizes Muzan's scent from his home and chases him. He eventually confronts him, as Muzan also recognizes his earrings. At that moment, Muzan wants to get rid of Tanjiro and approaches him. Tanjiro, however, has other plans. He wants to make a deal with Muzan, as he offers to provide him information regarding the Demon Slayer Corps if he kills Giyu for him. Hearing this, Muzan thinks about this for a while and agrees to Tanjiro's condition. From this point onward, Tanjiro and Muzan start collaborating, as Tanjiro gives Muzan information regarding the Demon Slayer Corps, and in return, Muzan orders his demons to swarm local towns and attract the Hashiras. During one such day, Tanjiro and Giyu get assigned to a mission together, and even though Tanjiro hates Giyu, he accepts to accompany him. Tanjiro somehow manages to convey this message to Muzan, who also reaches that town. Giyu, on the other hand, is confident that he can get rid of the demons in this town, but he actually comes across Muzan, the Demon King himself. Giyu instructs Tanjiro to escape, but instead, he starts laughing hysterically and reveals his entire plan to Giyu. Before the poor guy could do anything, Muzan kills him off and gets rid of him. Tanjiro and Muzan proceed with their collaboration and end up destroying the entire Demon Slayer Corps. In the previous two scenarios, we've considered the possibility that the story will proceed quite similarly to the original timeline, or Takeo will get killed by Giyu. However, in this scenario, things are slightly different from the original timeline and the previous two scenarios. The beginning of the story will be similar to the original timeline, with Tanjiro returning to his dead family and noticing that Takeo is alive instead of Nezuko. Now, in the previous scenario, we assume that Takeo's personality is quite different from Tanjiro's, and he's not that affectionate towards him in the beginning and gets killed off by Giyu. Now, in this scenario, we'll consider the possibility that Tanjiro will somehow manage to save his brother, but Takeo escapes into the wild. Seeing a human try to kill him triggers immense hatred inside Takeo, and he ventures into a nearby town to quench his thirst. In the meantime, Tanjiro gets scolded by Giyu, who wants to punish him, but has realized his potential as a swordsman. He informs Tanjiro that if he becomes a demon slayer, he can locate his brother, and probably find a way to cure him as well. Skeptical at first, Tanjiro accepts this and decides to train under Urokodaki. Things proceed quite smoothly, as Tanjiro trains to become a demon slayer. Meanwhile, Takeo's hatred for demon slayers has skyrocketed, as he keeps consuming humans. At some point, Takeo's immense hatred keeps driving him, as he eventually becomes strong enough to be recognized as a lower moon. At this point, Tanjiro has completed his training with Urokodaki, and has become a demon slayer. With no Nezuko or Takeo by his side, Tanjiro doesn't come across Inosuke and Zenitsu, but he still becomes strong enough to unleash his full potential and reach higher ranks among the Demon Slayer Corps. Years pass by, as Tanjiro keeps searching for Takeo, but fails to locate him. He has now become a Hashira, and for the first time in history, there are two Hashira with the same breathing style, Giyu and Tanjiro. Takeo, on the other hand, has become an upper moon. His appearance has completely changed to the point that even Tanjiro wouldn't be able to recognize him. He's become a vicious demon, who just wants to kill and devour demon slayers. He has not allowed a single demon slayer to leave alive, owing to his immense hatred. The story proceeds as Muzan eventually decides to get rid of the Demon Slayer Corps, and ambushes the headquarters just like the original timeline. Muzan manages to get rid of Ubarashiki, who self-destructs to kill Muzan, but fails miserably. To get revenge, the Demon Slayers also invade the Infinity Castle, and being a Hashira, Tanjiro is also among these Demon Slayers. They split up to tackle the Upper Moons, and Tanjiro takes off with Giyu. They keep wandering around the Infinity Castle until eventually they come across Akaza and manage to kill him. Meanwhile, Muzan has Takeo with him, in case the Hashira manage to get to him. After some time, the Hashira eventually find their way to Muzan and engage him in battle. They were expecting Muzan to be alone, but much to their surprise, another demon was present there with him, and that was Takeo. Seeing this, Tanjiro engages Takeo in battle, not knowing that he is in fact his brother. The battle proceeds as Tanjiro questions Takeo regarding his motive. Takeo tells him everything about his past, and how a demon slayer tried to slaughter him. Hearing all this makes Tanjiro realize that this demon is in fact Takeo. Suddenly, Tanjiro addresses him as Takeo, which shocks him. He questions how he knows about his real name, as Tanjiro tells him that he's been looking for him all this time, and that they have also discovered a cure for him. Takeo refuses to believe him, but Tanjiro reminds him about all the stuff they did together as kids. Tanjiro asks Takeo to stop all this, but despite that, Takeo doesn't give a crap about him. The battle ends with Takeo killing Tanjiro, who dies with the regret of not being able to save his brother. This raises some other questions, like what if Takeo had changed parties at the end? I guess we can talk about that in another video. Till then, check out this other cool anime video that's appearing on your screen. Go ahead, click it. Thanks, and see you next time!